There are a number of reasons why electricity costs are surging under the Trump administration, outpacing inflation. The tariffs, for example, do increase the prices of many products, some of which these utilities do use. In addition, the Trump administration canceled a number of green energy projects, and when you reduce the supply of energy available, you're going to drive up costs. And yes, it's also true that AI data centers also do use a similar amount of electricity. And when you take this in combination, you have electric costs surging. And again, what is Donald Trump doing? He's simply rage tweeting on his social media posts.
You just witnessed something that happens precisely once in a political generation, and it needs to get seared into your consciousness right now, because we are living through what historians will call the catastrophic inflection point, where American democracy either woke up or perished under the crushing weight of its own indifference. That congressman you just heard speaking, that Democratic voice laying out with surgical precision exactly how Trump's policies are bankrupting American families, while Trump just rage tweets batshit insanity into the digital void instead of governing, that was not just another congressional floor speech. That was a clarion call for sanity in an age of manufactured chaos, and we need to talk about what this moment actually represents, because the stakes could not be higher, and the contrast could not be more stark, and I promise you that by the end of this, you will understand exactly why this clip is going viral, and why it should terrify every single person who benefits from the current power structure. Electricity bills have been rising while Trump promised to cut energy costs in half, but his administration's actions during the first months of his second term are almost certainly driving prices and bills further up, and what we're watching here is the complete and total exposure of the conservative economic project as nothing more than a smash-and-grab operation dressed up in populist rhetoric. Annual electricity costs for the average American household are increasing by approximately $100 this year, while Trump sits in his golden tower posting conspiracy theories about Michelle Obama at 2 a.m, because that is precisely what autocrats do when they have no actual solutions to the crises they themselves have created. Now I want you to understand something about the structure of power in this country, because what that congressman just described is not an accident or an oversight or some unfortunate side effect of well-intentioned policy. It is the entire goddamn point. Trump's tariffs make electricity more expensive by driving up the cost of fuels used to generate electricity, and by tying up supply chains for equipment needed to run the grid, with analysis projecting tariffs could increase electricity costs and equipment prices substantially. And when you combine that with the systematic demolition of clean energy infrastructure, you get exactly what we have right now, which is American families choosing between heating their homes and buying groceries while the man in the Oval Office spends 5 hours posting 160 times on Truth Social in a single evening, because his brain is so thoroughly colonized by his own narcissism that he literally cannot stop performing for an audience that exists primarily in his imagination. But here is where it gets truly diabolical, and I need you to pay attention because this is the part they do not want you to understand. The Trump administration is canceling $7.6 billion in grants that supported hundreds of clean energy projects in 16 states, all of which voted for Democrat Kamala Harris in last year's presidential election, which means we are watching in real time as a president weaponizes energy policy to punish his political enemies while Americans suffer the consequences. This is not governance, this is extortion with a side of authoritarian consolidation. Household electric bills have increased 10% since Trump took office, rising more than twice as fast as the cost of living, which tells you everything you need to know about whose interests are actually being served here. The congressman mentioned green energy projects being canceled, and you might think, oh, that is just partisan framing, but let me tell you exactly what that means in practice, because the details will make your blood boil. $22 billion in clean energy projects had been canceled during the first half of this year, and about $2 billion in such projects were canceled last year, costing about 7,500 jobs, and we are talking about projects that would have lowered energy costs, created good-paying union jobs, and moved us toward energy independence, but Trump killed them anyway because fossil fuel executives need another yacht, and because punishing blue states is more important than helping American families. The elimination of nearly $8 billion in funding for more than 200 projects could result in the loss of tens of thousands of jobs that would have been created by the projects, and this is happening while Trump campaigns on bringing jobs back to America, which would be hilarious if it were not so catastrophically destructive. Now let us talk about those tariffs for a moment, because this is where the economic illiteracy of the modern conservative movement becomes almost too painful to contemplate. The Trump tariffs amount to an average tax increase of $1,200 per U.S. household in 2025, which means that every single family in America is paying a Trump tax right now, whether they realize it or not, and tariffs could increase electricity costs and increase equipment prices substantially for transformers, switchgears, circuit breakers, and wires and cables, which means every single aspect of our electrical infrastructure just got more expensive because Donald Trump fundamentally does not understand how trade works. And when utilities have to pay more for equipment, who do you think absorbs those costs? It sure as hell is not the shareholders. It is you. It is your neighbor. It is every working family in America watching their bills climb while Trump tells them everything is great, and they should be grateful. But wait, it gets worse. And I know you are thinking, how could it possibly get worse? But that is the thing about late-stage capitalism and the death throes of a democracy. There is always another layer of cruelty. A major driver of rising electricity prices is Trump's push to expand liquefied natural gas exports, which has sent gas prices soaring by more than 50%, because Trump would rather ship American energy overseas where corporations can charge higher prices than keep it here where it might actually help American families, and this is the exact opposite of the energy independence he promised, but his supporters will never hear about it, because they are too busy being told that immigrants are the real problem. The Congressman mentioned data centers, and I want to dwell on this for a second, because it perfectly encapsulates how the modern economy is designed to extract wealth from regular people and funnel it to tech oligarchs. Data centers are expected to consume anywhere from 6.7 to 12% of total U.S. electricity by 2028, up from 4.4% in 2023. And the data center frenzy is the primary driver of higher electricity prices for households, which means that the AI boom that is making Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg even more obscenely wealthy is being subsidized by higher electric bills for every family in America. You are paying for their server farms, you are paying for their computation, you are paying for them to build technologies that will probably be used to automate your job, and Trump is not doing a single goddamn thing to make them pay their fair share, because he is too busy posting conspiracy theories at midnight. And speaking of Trump's posting habits, let us talk about what the Congressman so eloquently described as Trump saying batshit crazy things, because Trump spent 5 hours on Truth Social on Monday evening, posting more than 160 times between 7 p.m. and midnight in a social media blitz that included posts promoting far-right conspiracy theories, AI videos, and attacks on his political opponents. Think about that for a moment. The President of the United States, the person who is supposed to be managing the largest economy on Earth, the person who is supposed to be solving the energy crisis, spent 5 hours posting 160 times on social media. Trump posted over 160 times between 7:09 p.m. and 11:57 p.m., with most posts shared twice, at one point firing off more than a post a minute, which is not the behavior of a well person, it is not the behavior of a competent leader, it is the behavior of someone whose grip on reality is so tenuous that he needs constant validation from an increasingly deranged online audience. This is what the Congressman meant when he said Trump is just rage tweeting instead of addressing the crisis. And rage tweeting is precisely the right term because that is all this is. It is performative anger designed to keep his base in a constant state of agitation, so they never stop to ask why their bills are going up, and their wages are stagnant, and their kids cannot afford to move out of the house. Trump posted over 160 times on Truth Social, over the course of 3 hours, and nearly all of it was rage bait, either aimed at riling up his base or his opponents, in obvious hope that something would be provocative enough to shift the conversation. And this is the entire Republican communications strategy. Keep people so angry about culture war nonsense that they never notice you are picking their pockets. Now I want to return to those canceled clean energy projects, because this is where the partisan cruelty becomes undeniable. The Trump administration is canceling grants that supported clean energy projects in 16 states, all of which voted for Democrat Kamala Harris. The Energy Department's cancellations of projects directly affected 16 states won by Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election, which is not energy policy, that is political retribution. The Trump administration canceled $8 billion worth of Department of Energy projects across the country, and these projects already approved and funded by Congress were designed to lower energy costs, create jobs, and boost American innovation, but Trump does not care because hurting Democrats is more important than helping Americans. And let me tell you what these canceled projects actually were because the specifics matter. Cuts include $1.2 billion for California's hydrogen hub, aimed at accelerating hydrogen technology and production, with the private sector having committed $10 billion and canceling, threatening over 200,000 jobs. That is 200,000 jobs that would have paid well, that would have built the energy infrastructure of the future. that would have positioned America to compete globally, and Trump killed them because California did not vote for him. This is not economics. This is not policy. This is a vendetta dressed up as governance, and American families are paying the price in higher bills and lost opportunities. The contrast here is so stark it should be taught in every civics class. Democrats are trying to pass legislation to lower energy costs through investment in clean energy infrastructure that would create jobs and reduce dependence on volatile fossil fuel markets, and Republicans are imposing tariffs that raise prices, canceling projects that would lower costs, and then blaming immigrants and transgender people when families cannot pay their bills. It is gaslighting on a civilizational scale, and the fact that it works on millions of Americans is a testament to the complete collapse of civic education and the triumph of propaganda over reality. Now here is the part that should keep you up at night. The United States has seen historic increases in nominal average electricity prices since 2021, with nominal electricity prices rising 27% since 2019 and 21% since 2021, while inflation-adjusted prices had risen by 4.5% and 4.9% respectively. And these increases are hitting hardest in exactly the places where people can least afford it. According to the 2024 Census Household Pulse Survey, 34% of households reported cutting back on basic household necessities such as medicine or food to pay for an energy bill, which means 1 in 3 American households is making impossible choices because Trump's policies are making energy more expensive while he posts conspiracy theories about Michelle Obama. And the Congressman is absolutely right to connect this to Trump's broader pattern of dysfunction, because what we are seeing is not just bad energy policy, it is the complete abdication of presidential responsibility. When you are dealing with a crisis, when American families are struggling, you do not spend 5 hours posting on social media. You convene experts, you develop solutions, you use the power of your office to help people. But Trump cannot do that, because he does not actually know how to govern, he only knows how to perform, and the performance requires constant engagement with an audience that gets smaller and more radicalized every single day. The other piece that the Congressman mentioned, and we need to talk about, is how investments in the country's aging electric grids are not keeping up with the disasters of a changing climate, and new clean energy sources are not being added quickly enough to keep up with new demands, such as data centers, which means we are facing a compound crisis, infrastructure that is falling apart, climate change that is making weather more extreme, and increased demand from technologies that primarily benefit the wealthy. And instead of addressing any of this, Trump is clawing back billions in clean energy funds, nearly all from states that did not support him in the 2024 election, with funds that had already been obligated to build wind, solar, and transmission projects to cut energy prices and strengthen the grid, weaponizing the budget process to punish political opponents. This is authoritarianism. Full stop. When you use government resources to punish your political enemies, when you cancel projects that would help millions of people because those people live in states that voted against you, when you spend your time posting conspiracy theories instead of solving problems, you are not a president, you are a tyrant. And the fact that Republicans in Congress are enabling this instead of checking it means we are watching the final stages of democratic collapse in real time, unless people wake up and understand what is happening. Now let me connect all of this to the broader picture, because what that congressman described is not just about energy policy, it is about the fundamental question of what government is for. Progressives believe government should solve problems, should invest in infrastructure, should protect people from corporate exploitation, should build a society where everyone has a chance to thrive. Conservatives believe government should punish enemies, should transfer wealth upward, should maintain hierarchies, should protect the powerful from accountability, and we are seeing those two visions collide right now with electricity bills as the battlefield. When Democrats propose clean energy investments, Republicans call it government overreach and socialism. When Republicans impose tariffs that raise prices, cancel projects that create jobs, and weaponize energy policy against blue states, they call it America First. The hypocrisy is so profound it would be funny if it were not literally killing people, because make no mistake, when you force families to choose between heating and eating, when you drive up costs in the middle of a cost of living crisis, when you abandon infrastructure investments that would save lives during climate disasters, people die, and Trump does not care, because he is fundamentally incapable of caring about anything except his own ego. The 2024 nationwide average electricity price reached a new high, with a 22.55% increase over the nationwide average price just 5 years ago. And this is happening because we have made political choices to prioritize short-term corporate profits over long-term societal well-being. We could have spent the last 5 years building out renewable energy infrastructure that would provide cheap, abundant power for generations. We could have modernized the grid so it can handle increased demand. We could have regulated utilities so they cannot pass every cost onto consumers while distributing dividends to shareholders. But we did not do any of those things because Republicans blocked every attempt, and now Trump is making it worse. And I want to come back to that phrase the congressman used, batshit crazy, because it is so perfect and so important that we name what we are seeing. Representative Ted Lieu said the fact that Democrats feel the need to even introduce amendments for basic constitutional protections is batshit crazy, and he is right. We should not have to be arguing about whether the president should govern or post conspiracy theories. We should not have to be explaining that weaponizing energy policy against blue states is wrong. We should not have to be defending basic reality against a president who lives in a fantasy world constructed from right-wing memes and Fox News segments. But here we are, and the question is, what do we do about it? And the answer is that we fight. We organize, we vote, we hold every single Republican who enables this accountable, and we build a movement powerful enough to overcome the structural advantages they have rigged into the system. We need to understand that this is not about one bad president. This is about a party that has decided democracy is an obstacle to power and is willing to burn everything down to maintain control. The Energy Department terminated 223 projects after a review determined they did not adequately advance the nation's energy needs or were not economically viable, but that is a lie. Those projects were economically viable, they just were not politically convenient. And we need to be clear about what Republicans are doing, because they are very good at muddying the waters and making everything seem complicated when it is actually very simple. They are raising your costs through tariffs while blaming immigrants. They are canceling projects that would lower your bills while claiming to care about affordability. They are weaponizing energy policy to punish their enemies while wrapping themselves in the flag. And Trump is the perfect avatar for all of this because he is so transparently corrupt, so obviously incompetent, so visibly unwell that he makes the cruelty visible in a way that more disciplined politicians would not. That congressman you heard speaking is doing something incredibly important by calling this out in plain language, by refusing to pretend that Trump's behavior is normal or acceptable, by connecting the dots between Trump's Twitter addiction and American families struggling to pay their bills. This is the kind of communication Democrats need more of, not cautious both sides, not mealy-mouthed technocratic explanations, but clear moral language that explains exactly what is happening and who is responsible. Trump is rage-tweeting batshit insanity while your bills go up, and Republicans are letting him do it because they benefit from the chaos. So when you watch that clip, when you see it going viral, understand that you are witnessing a pivotal moment in American political discourse. You are seeing the facade crack. You are seeing the lie exposed. You are seeing a Democrat willing to call Trump exactly what he is, an unhinged narcissist who cares more about his social media engagement than about American families. And the Republican response will be predictable. They will clutch their pearls about civility. They will say Democrats are being divisive. They will change the subject to whatever culture war nonsense is trending this week. But do not let them distract you from the fundamental truth. Trump's policies are making your life harder while he posts conspiracy theories at midnight, and Republicans are enabling every bit of it. We are living through a moment of profound democratic crisis where basic governance has been replaced by performative cruelty, and where American families are paying the price in higher bills, lost jobs, and abandoned infrastructure. The question is whether we are going to accept this as normal, or whether we are going to build a movement powerful enough to reclaim government as a tool for solving problems, rather than a weapon for punishing enemies. That congressman just showed us what it looks like to fight back with truth, with clarity, with moral urgency. Now we need millions more people willing to do the same, because democracy does not die all at once. It dies in moments like these when we see injustice and choose silence, when we see corruption and choose comfort, when we see the truth and choose to look away. This is the fight of our generation, and we cannot afford to lose.